Well, after a record-breaking start to the weekend, it's good to see the number of new COVID-19 cases are down today. But we still had more than 2,800 new cases reported. Take a look here. What has increased are the number of people who are receiving care in the hospital. More than 100 new people were admitted into the hospital, which makes nearly 3,200 people in total who are still receiving medical care. An increase in patients always raises concern about hospital capacity here in the state of Georgia. In the past week, 343 people with COVID-19 were admitted to hospitals in the ICU across the state. Here in Fulton County, Gwinnett County, as well, Georgia Emergency Management says 17% of all ICU beds still remain open.